What Battle for Azeroth can learn from Classic WoW Part 2, Progression and Community. And this comes to my third point. The developers in Battle for Azeroth are actively undermining character progression. Now, we all kind of know how leveling in World of Warcraft currently works and how you can boost a character up to level 110 and skip all of the old content, that when you level up, you only get a new talent every 15 levels unless you're a Death Knight or a Demon Hunter. That feels pretty terrible, doesn't it? Pretty awful. Have you met anybody in World of Warcraft that goes, you know what, I really love the new talent system, it's so much better than it was in Classic? I haven't. Not a single person. You know why? Because when you used to get a talent point every single level, there was some degree of fulfillment with that. It felt like you were moving your character forward, even if it was just something like a plus 1% crit or a plus 1% whatever. It might have been really trivial in the larger scope of things, but it felt like you were moving somewhere with your character. There was something that you were doing. Now you don't have that. Now what you have is mobs that scale to your level. Your gear gets slightly worse. The mob creatures get slightly better. You don't get any new talents, unless it's every 15 levels. You don't get any more skill points. Literally, the content just gets harder. Well, that's not very RPG-like, is it? No. So, if World of Warcraft Classic becomes popular, which I think it'll be very popular, not as popular as some think, and I think it'll be more popular than other people think, who think it's only going to last like 3 months. I think those people are mistaken. I think the people that think it's going to become bigger than modern WoW are also mistaken. But I think what the World of Warcraft developers will take away from the leveling experience in Classic WoW is just how much people are interacting with the world around them compared to the modern game. Going up and clicking on certain NPCs, going up and exploring in these untraveled areas. And when people who've never played the game before start talking about how many of the systems that they like and what they think is better in Classic WoW versus modern WoW, for people that have never played Classic before, leveling is going to be one of the big things. There are so many classic RPG elements in Classic WoW that people don't even think about now when it comes to leveling. I mean, talent points are obviously one of the big things that people think of, but what a lot of people forget about is the class-specific quests. Like going out to the Tower of Azora as a mage, or going on your hunter quest for Rock Dalar, or even small things like unlocking your pet as a warlock or as a hunter. You know, there's a quest tied to each demon that you received as a warlock. You had a story behind it. Why did I have a succubus? How did I get it? What about the Voidwalkers or the imps? There was a reason to care about the abilities and the pets and the skills and everything that you learned. You felt like it had some kind of intrinsic value to your character that was directly tied to the universe, the story, and the world around you. Well, another big part of that was having class trainers and having to run to a class trainer. Oh, you unlocked a new skill. You can see a class trainer. You'd go up there. You'd unlock a new skill. Oh, what's this do? Let me read this ability. Let me figure out what it does. Oh, I'm a warrior. I just got the ability to rend my target. Okay, I'm going to go back to questing in Westfall. Oh, there's a mechanical target. Let me use my rend on it. Oh, it's immune. Oh, the rend causes a bleed effect, and mechanical creatures can't be affected by bleed. Well, that kind of makes sense. That's kind of cool. Man, my Frostbolt seems to not be doing a whole lot of damage to this water elemental. Huh, I wonder why. Oh, the water elemental has a resistance to frost because it's water. Oh, okay. And that's not even mentioning the new ranks of spells that you could get, because maybe you got a rank 13 Frostbolt, but you didn't have the mana to sustain. So you had to prioritize whether or not rank 13 was better than rank 12 or rank 11 or rank 10, because maybe over a sustained fight, rank 10 does more damage over a sustained amount because you're not going to run out of mana. But rank 13, maybe you'll use that in the last 15 or 20% of a boss fight if you have the mana pool to burst down the boss. That's not even counting like rank 1 Frostbolt that you'd use in PvP that only had a 0.3 second cast time, versus having like a 1.5 or 2.5 second cast on your max level Frostbolt. Because if you're trying to kite something, the only thing you're really wanting is the snare. Extra damage is kind of icing on the cake, but it's not what you're really going for. This caused you to have to kind of think about your game, interact with your character, and you could kind of play with things and min-max it. It was a way to separate yourself as a good player or somebody that was more skilled at the game from somebody who wasn't. So not only were you progressing your character, but you'd have to progress along a linear path of, okay, I know I need to do this dungeon, then I need to do this dungeon, then maybe I can go to this raid, and these are the items I can get, and here are the things I can focus on and try to get to drop, and here are the attunements. You could set goals for yourself constantly. Everything was goal related. You were setting yourself up for the next step always, and you had control of it. And that wasn't just true in dungeons or raids or leveling, but that was also true in things like professions. Like, you always wanted to get to the next tier because the next tier always offered some additional value, which isn't something the current game currently does. Having known rewards is part of the human structure. Think about your paycheck, for example. What if you were just going to work and sometimes you could get 5 paychecks in a week or you could get 0? That doesn't sound very good, does it? No, you want to know at the end of each week you're going to have a paycheck for that set amount. Well, when you have the RNG system like we have right now, basically we don't know if we're getting a paycheck that week or if we're getting 10 paychecks that week. Not only is that frustrating with the unknown aspect of that, but it's effectively an anti-role-playing system. I don't know anybody that likes to be at the mercy of chance in any aspect of their lives. So when our characters' rewards are dictated by chance almost entirely, that feels really bad too. I mean, that's really kind of basic human psychology. Why break my back if I don't know how or when or if I'm going to get it? And if I get no paycheck, that feels terrible. If I get 10 paychecks, that feels amazing, but you know what? It doesn't feel that amazing because I could have gotten 1,000 paychecks. So even the things that should feel good don't feel good, and the things that feel bad feel terrible. So what Blizzard can learn from classic WoW and put it into Battle for Azeroth in the sense of progression is that people like the carrot on the stick, people want the carrot on the stick, but the carrot on a stick has to be an achievable carrot on a stick. It can't be 10,000 miles in front of us. If we know that the carrot is on a stick, but we have to walk 10,000 miles to get it, and we can't see it with our eyes, then we're almost immediately going to give up on chasing after that carrot in the stick. But if you were to put it right at that cusp of our visual range, and we can see that light at the end of the tunnel, it's right there, it's within reach, but it's going to be a really difficult path to get there, we will walk that difficult path because it is a real carrot on a stick, not a theoretical carrot on a stick. And this is something that World of Warcraft Classic did exceptionally well. We always knew where that goal was. Even if it was a very difficult goal, it was always achievable and it was always within grasp. And we ultimately had the control of our own destiny, not RNGesus. You know, but the really cool thing about creatures being immune and not being able to rend mechanical targets or having lower damage or being immune to, if you're a frost mage, to things that have frost resistance, like a water elemental, maybe it would be really smart to get somebody that might be good against it. Maybe like a fire mage or maybe a warlock. Maybe it'd be good to get a hunter, you know? Or a rogue, maybe that could stun the mechanical targets, because my rend isn't going to be so, oh, I'm making friends now and being social in a game because there's something that I'm really weak against that somebody else is strong against in a rock, paper, scissors kind of way? All right. Yeah. So to my fourth point, community. Probably, arguably, the most important part of any MMO, something that has been significantly lacking from World of Warcraft for a very long time. Now, a lot of the main reason that Classic WoW's community was so incredibly great is that we relied upon others for our own success. Therefore, me helping you not only helped you, but it helped me in return. That's not current World of Warcraft. That is not modern WoW whatsoever. Modern WoW is very much a hooray for me, to hell with you kind of system. I don't know you. I don't care about you. Why should I know you? Why should I care about you? You're just a random face. You might as well be a number, not a human being. Which is why the toxicity in the game has gone through the roof. When people cease being people and are only numbers, well, things start to get really dicey. You remove all of those emotional human elements of why you're kind to people, why you want to help other people, why you should be a good actor and not a bad one. And you see, this is kind of the brilliance of Classic WoW, whether it was intended by the original developers or not, is that when everybody was locked to one server, you couldn't transfer off, there was no name changes, there was no guild name changes, your name was your reputation. And if you earned a very bad reputation, you're going to have to either create a new character or try to find a way to repair your reputation. Your reputation in Classic WoW was everything. If you became known as the ninja looter who steals stuff from other people, guess what? People on the server, they're going to know your name. You're not going to be able to escape that. And next time when they're organizing a group in trade chat, guess who's not going to get invited? However, if you're a really nice person, and maybe there's something you needed and somebody else needed, and you decided to give it to that person, well, that person would certainly remember that. And if they saw you in trade chat looking for healing, tanking, DPS role, they would snatch you up in a second. You'd add them to your friends list. You would start doing other content with them, with people that were like-minded, and you became friends. And it built community out of that. Not only that, if you were really impatient with somebody in a dungeon, or a raid, or wherever, heck, it took more time to go back to the town and replace that person's role than to teach them how to do it properly. There was an active incentive for you to be a good person. Right now, there's only an incentive to be a bad, toxic person in World of Warcraft. Oh, this person, I don't think that they're doing the adequate DPS numbers they need. Vote kick. Oh, that tank accidentally this time pulled a pack that they backed up into. They're terrible. Vote kick. How does anyone get any better in that environment? How many times does it take before people start getting really negative towards having to deal with random players that they don't know? How long is it before the person that's being treated toxically becomes toxic themselves? Well, as you can see with MOBAs, not very long. So this is the point where it comes back full circle to what I said at the beginning. Convenience is the enemy of immersion. Not only is it the enemy of immersion, convenience is the enemy of community. If you have one, you're not going to have the other. Why? It's real simple. If I can do everything and I don't need anybody else to do my content and I can just solo queue for everything, and if I can just be a single player who never joins a guild, can see everything and do everything in the game by myself, well, no longer is that an MMO, firstly. Secondly, what incentive is there for me to be a kind, decent human being or individual to anyone? None. Because the game's effectively a single-player game. Those other people you have might as well be glorified NPCs. And when people are just NPCs, well, that's kind of a hollow feeling, isn't it? Community is the backbone of any multiplayer game. And right now, the reason that WoW is listing like a ship sinking is because the community is in a terrible state. And the reason that the community is in a terrible state is because the systems actively incentivize negative behavior, not positive behavior. It's also incentivizing you to play as a solo player versus playing in a guild or with other people. This is the number one major reason that people are craving classic WoW. And if Blizzard can take a lesson from this, they can make the modern game a much, much better place.